With the arrival of a new year and, well, a new year of Road Warrior, what better way to kick it off than with a little pitter-patter from up above and a premium model to boost. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, after a few months of kind of laying low, it's finally time to get things rolling again. Best of all, from our friends over at Infiniti, this being the 2023 Infiniti QX60 Autograph Edition. Infiniti is definitely known for its premium qualities, most notable when you climb inside, and well, the QX60 is a perfect representation of what they offer, and it all starts here on the exterior. First, with this color offering, not just a plain exterior facade wrapping body color all the way around, but instead a two-tone effect. As you sweep up, goes into a darker, smoky look across the upper portion. Certainly we've seen this at other manufacturers, other premium models, but those names will go unnoticed. Only the QX60 to note here. What I also like is the size of this vehicle. Not an overscaled like we see at the QX80. That is meant for that sibling. This one been a little bit more subdued. Now it definitely has some length, and best of all, delivering 3 rows of comfort up to 7 occupants, or here in the Autograph with 6. But the overall height is coming down just a little bit, giving any, well, novice behind the wheel a more sedan-like feel and overall comfortable ride. You can say the QX60 feels like a sculpted piece of art designed from the ground up, with every angle chiseled to perfection. Again, from the profile with these 2 separate tones, gives the impression of this vehicle having truly 2 distinct hemispheres, as if this was built separately, then placed on top. Just a hint of chrome accent, giving it some nice variation. But where it may truly begin is at the grille warfare. Most notable is the origami-inspired mesh grille. Really glossy black accent chrome around it. Now on the QX60, you may notice the variations in tone, not just body color and maybe this lower fascia, but instead the chrome, the glossy black, and as you sweep down, this kind of darker rubber accent that sweeps around the vehicle is accented again with this gray tone. That is specific here on the Autograph Edition and the Luxe as well. Lastly is the menacing headlights that really sweep around the vehicle, mimics that at the taillights as well. And lastly, just attention to detail, looks like little piano keys. Another look at the profile, which I'll let you take in as I give you the overall scale of this vehicle, because after all, it does deliver 3 rows of comfort, so it can't be scaled down. And thankfully, this vehicle truly measures up. What you're going to see is around about 198 inches as it sits. Wheelbase fairly stretched at 114 inches. As for width, with the mirrors as you see it, around about 86 inches. As for front and rear track, they're both equal, meaning no flare out there at the back end. Also, height, I mentioned it feeling a little bit more subdued, falling just shy of 70 inches. Now, I mentioned how this vehicle can feel like a sedan, giving it a nice docile and subdued-like feel, but this is truly still like an SUV, most notable in the ground clearance, not bad at 6.7 inches. Now, as we sweep around to the back, one thing you'll notice on the QX60 is not really any true hardline edges. Even this kind of midline that sweeps around the vehicle has a softening effect there on the front hood. Again, over the haunches, just a little bit of softening as well. Any hard edges, well, that's going to be left to the competition, where they've kind of chiseled things up too much, in my opinion. This one having a nice, more premium softening effect, most notable here at the back end. First, starting with the roofline, typical SUV profile, where it comes out, then cuts back in and sweeps down, almost like a waterfall flowing here to the back end. This providing a nice curvaceousness, bowing out effect. That's certainly going to help a little bit with the cargo room instead of just a sawed off back end. What also adds to the overall curvature of this back is this rear taillight design that sweeps across and really illuminates the back end. What you're also going to notice, of course, is the dual tones, champagne-like color that sweeps down. And again, the multiple tones across this vehicle truly culminate here at the back end. Darkened upper accent here, and the 2 tones, just like we saw in the front, body color, and again, that gray accent that is specific here to the Autograph Edition. But the best thing might wait you inside, and that is with the amount of space that this vehicle can deliver. Now, there's several ways to get in here, obviously with a key fob, or where you can kind of go hands-free, given that old motion effect, where you find the motion and it's going to rise to the occasion. Now let's, well, dive inside. Let's see what awaits us. Now, where this vehicle may truly shine is in the interior spacing, both from occupancy as well as versatility when it comes to cargo. First thing you're going to notice is the space back here, around about 14 cubic feet. Not too bad. Typical grocery store visit, need to pick up something quick, easily going to slide back here. Maybe the soccer practice, just some gear. That is nice spacing. And if you're familiar with sedan trunk space, that is a typical sedan. So you're starting with that with all seating in place. Now what you'll notice back here is these nice flip down headrests. No reason to have them up until people climb back here. That way you don't have these blind spots. This is kind of a 70-30 split. Two people go back here. Nice divide through the middle, which means it's going to be extra hip room, and we'll get into leg room numbers in just a second. As for laying these flat, you're going to notice two operations. First off, you'll have the handles on either side. That's going to lay it flat like that. To get them to come back up, well, you could either pull this right here, which may be kind of an arm stretch away, or you do have some nice press buttons that coordinate with either side that automatically raises these back up. Now with the third row flat, that's going to take the overall numbers to 41 cubic feet. As you move forward, going to give you a total of 75 cubic feet, and best of all, nice cargo flat floor. Sometimes it's not about the space you can see, but rather what you can't see, specifically what lies beneath this cargo floor. First thing to note is really pull this tab. That's going to lift this rear hatch, and it's going to stay in place where you leave it. If you do need more access, just simply sling it out of the way. That's going to reveal this nice cavernous area and a heavy plastic material that's really going to be protected. That means you can kind of throw dirty items in here from soccer or what have you. Now, interestingly, I do not see an open little port that would drain this, meaning could you make this a cooler, put some ice in here? Highly don't suggest that, because right behind this is going to be an open space, which if it all leaks in, that's going to get into the cabin area. Now, while we got this up out of the way, this is the access to get your jack and other tools to change a spare if you need it. Best of all, there is a spare underneath this cargo floor, and you simply wind the spare down with the corresponding bolt over there. It will lay down for you, take it off, and again, the tools here when you need them. Climbing inside, the tranquility that awaits you here on the QX60, there might be an argument that ensues, because it's not going to be about finding pole position, but rather who gets to find a seat, everyone else, because in this case, it might be better to be driven than to be the driver. What you're going to see is nice attention to detail in all 6 locations. Now here on the Autograph Edition, the second row is styled with dual captain's chairs. Other models will give you a bench styling, meaning you have one more occupant availability. As for layout, nice center console here through the middle. In the second row, you're just going to find a nice flattened area. Also, you're going to have dual cup holders through here. Also, other locations for beverages will also be found on the outer doors. As for overall comfort, you'll see the leather, the attention, the quilting, just great overall delivery. And of course, armrest here on the inner side. On the outside, armrest here found on the door. Another nice option is this screening that I call the limo screen. It's actually a sunshade. You can kind of lift it up into placement. Really makes everything nice and tranquil once again back here. Also, tri-zone system found here on the QX60, to be expected on the vehicle this big. Basically, not having to wait for airflow to get from front to back, but instead the backseat drivers can control it with a nice digital display touch, as well as heated options for the seats here in the second row. Lastly is for the nosebleed section, is just how do you get back there, and this is made pretty darn easy. Imagine a car seat being fastened in here. Well, you don't have to get rid of it. Instead, just reach your hand, press it, and it simply lifts and goes forward. The car seat can still be in place. That means even my 6'2" frame can easily slide back here in lickety split. Once everybody's inside, just simply lay this back down, find your placement, and you're ready to roll. Now, as for legroom numbers, you're going to find 41 inches in the front, 37 inches in the back, and 28 inches there in the nosebleed section. But let's dive in a little bit closer to see what that really looks like. When you get to the third row area to get settled, this is where you start to really analyze the 28 inches of legroom into reality, because they're just not created equal. 28 inches isn't that much, but once you get back here as a full-grown adult, you'll realize there's actually pretty decent comfort. First off, you're going to notice the bench styling is about as low as it can go, naturally, because there's only so much headroom to work with. You also notice the reclinability of these seat backs. Naturally, they're going to be in a very vertical position when you're carrying cargo, but when you have occupants back here, just simply grab the corresponding handle and you can actually move these back and forth, giving you a lot more reclinability. Next, you're going to notice here on the Autograph Edition that you have the captain chairs. That means your inner knee really has this open space. You can kind of flare out just a little bit, and this is going to give you some breathing room. Here on the right side, it is of course more vertical because you are seated down, your knees are up. That compared to the traditional style seating as you move forward, but you really find kind of overall comfort. One big benefit is in the second row, when possible, if you slide those forward just a hair, that really is going to give you a little extra breathing room. But overall, as it sits, this as far back as it can go, pretty decent comfort. As for other amenities, what you're going to find is a cup holder on either side, 2 cup holders, and as well as USB connection on both sides as well. With the refinement on the inside and on the outside at first glance, well, there's got to be such refinement here on the hood as well, meaning it can't come with a squealing 4-cylinder or a very robust V8 drawing all the attention. So thankfully, it is perfectly equipped with a 3.5 liter V6 engine that delivers 295 horses and 270 foot-pounds of torque. Standard for the QX60 is going to be front-wheel drive, but here on the Autograph Edition, that is intelligent all-wheel drive system. Lastly, the engine is coupled with a 9-speed automatic transmission, which adds paddle shifters if you want to use them. Once this vehicle is rolling, the first thing to notice really is how quiet it is on the inside. Road harshness pretty much kept to a minimum. 2 things with that: this vehicle is built tight, keeping all that out, as well as the engine doesn't have a lot of loudness, robustness to us, really refined. Other things you're going to notice is just the drivability, the comfort of this vehicle. This driver's seat is driver-centric, which a lot of the things are angled towards you, like the infotainment system and the climate control. The co-pilot can interact with them because it's not totally positioned towards you, but it is meant for the driver to interact with ease. Helping you interact, of course, is the heads-up display, give you the current speed you're going, as well as the speed limit in the area, keeping safety at the forefront. Also keeping safe is the surround like radar feel of this vehicle when it comes to, well, awareness, whether it be pre-collision awareness, braking to avoid a collision, backing up likewise with awareness, blind spot awareness, cross traffic awareness, tons of awareness pretty much this vehicle has, keeping you out of danger and keeping this vehicle kind of bang and scrape free, meaning you're going to get home safe with all the various apparatus this vehicle has. When you set the cruise, you'll set the blue button first, then pull down to set the cruise, and if you look between the gauge cluster, you'll see your vehicle and how much spacing you have between you and other vehicles. FYI, there is a camera built into this rear view mirror. It's placed there at the back of the vehicle. Flip this here, turns into the video signal. You can make adjustments here, basically tilting it, taking it up and down how you feel. Now, if you're like me and you looked at the camera and it was very cloudy on a day like today and you go back to the back of the vehicle looking for a camera, well, don't look outside because it's inside. And what's great about that, anytime you do the windshield wiper at the back, it clears the back window, thus clearing the view for your camera. Backseat drivers may have it good, but the pilot probably has it best, with second place coming to the co-pilot, specifically with all the amenities when it comes to setting the comfort, as well as the sport seating that just can't be repeated there in the back. Now here in the driver's seat, once you grab hold, this is where really the fit and trim of this vehicle come into play. First off, with the massive amount of LCD staring at you, the 12-inch plus screen for entertainment and all the other information, as well as the gauge cluster, which is, well, not analog, but nice digital readout. Tachometer to your left, speed to your right, as well as a lot of information built in there in the middle. One thing I really liked, of course, was when you're driving. Now, you do have the paddle shifters. I tend to like to let the 9-speed automatic lead the way, but you have those as well as a nice cruise control that sets the tone. What I'm referring to is once you set it up, you have a couple of options. First, it does have the lane awareness, which will just kind of alert you but what I liked was modestly the autonomous feel. You press the button over here to the left, it looks like a steering wheel. That means it's going to give you some play as you're going down the road. It doesn't do it autonomous, meaning you got to keep your hands on the wheel and definitely stay awake, but it allows the vehicle to kind of keep you centered. That really helps out and also minimizes driver fatigue on those long drives. For the oversized infotainment screen, that is touch, but I do like the central knob between the front occupants. It's a lot easier and less of an arm stretch away. Now, the entertainment screen is typically what I keep it on, and that does take a little bit of getting used to. Mainly as you turn the knob, you'll see it down here selecting the presets, but as you get back to one, it will kind of climb the ladder and go to other functionality down here. I typically left that all alone, simply selected my presets, or when I wanted to scroll through the satellite radio stations, I would just come down here, press this button here. That brings up a better menu option of all the various selections. Scroll through. Once I find something I like, just press and hold. That then comes back to the main screen, and if I want, I can come down here, press and hold, and that now becomes the preset of that particular station. As for the rest of the layout between the front occupants, dual cup holders, nice springy grips to keep your drinks in place. Selector knob is just a pull down, push up kind of system. I would like for the illumination to be a little bit brighter because in bright sunny days you just cannot see that orange illuminate on the reverse, neutral, or drive as well. You kind of have to shade it to really see, but naturally you can get the gist of where you are. If you look down at the tachometer there on the left, naturally it's going to tell you what gear selection you're in. But if you're focused on this, not a bad option to increase that just a hair. One big feature that Infiniti added for 2023 is the wireless charging down here. That's going to help declutter all the various charging wires you typically need, and you can just lay it right there. Even better is the wireless Apple Play car interaction that allows you just to keep your phone here and it will interact with the screen up above. As for the connectivity, you have USB-A and USB-Cs throughout this vehicle. Now, besides the 9-speed automatic transmission that'll let this vehicle handle and do on its own, again, you have the paddle shifters if you want it. It does also have driving modes if you want to change things up. Now, when you do the driving modes, it will pop right there in the center, and you can just simply go right through them. Econo mode, auto, let the vehicle again decide for you, sport, and a personal setup. Also, another big one, obviously with the intelligent all-wheel drive, is that snow, that if you know you've ever been up north, you're definitely going to need that. To blend in with the sleek look of the digital gauge cluster and infotainment system, naturally the climate controls are going to follow suit with barely any knobs to interact with, only the volume and the dual climates up front. As for other settings, you do have heated and cooled seats for both occupants, as well as nice flush buttons when it comes to interact with them. You can control the rear control up here in case you have little ones that you want to handle. As for mode, changing the vent selection, just press it there and a nice readout tells you exactly what you're doing. That does it for this rainy edition of Road Warrior and our kickoff for the 2023 calendar year. And what better way to do it than with the Infiniti QX60, taking us to the next level, which means, well, the next vehicle coming better do it as good as this, because, well, I've already expected so much, you can't take me back down. Now, with all that said, I'd like to thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.